Today's stitch is called the basket weave, and this stitch consists of back post double crochet and front post double crochet, and it's a perfect stitch for blankets. And if you use a larger hook than the wool, so if the wool requires a 3mm hook and you use a 5mm hook, you'll get quite a loose stretch to this. I'm using double knit wool and I'm using a 5mm hook, and the wool requires you to use, where's the hook, a 4mm, so I'm using one size up, a 5mm. It just gives it a little looser feel and a very nice textured stitch. Okay, this is how the row repeats look. There you do a repeat of 4 rows and a repeat of a 4 rows. So it's a 4 row repeat. To do this stitch, we need to have a multiple of 8 plus 4. When they say a multiple of 8 plus 4, you don't do your 8 and then the 4 and then the 8 and then the 4. You do your multiple of 8, and in this case I did 16, and then you add the 4 onto the end. The first row for the basket weave is just plain double crochet. You just double crochet in the fourth stitch from the hook. You skip 3 and you double crochet in the 4th stitch all the way across to the end of the chain. If you like my crochet tutorials, don't hesitate to subscribe, and you will be updated every time I post a new tutorial online. Then that way you don't miss out. And also, if I do a part 1, part 2 tutorial, then you get a notification when part 2 comes out, or if I do a part 3, you get updated. Then you never miss out. So don't forget to subscribe at the bottom. Right. For the second row, we'll be working in back post and front post stitches. We will not be working for the rest of this pattern. We don't work in the stitches. The only time we will work into a stitch is the last chain at the end of every row. And the chain 2 that you make at the beginning of every row counts as a stitch. So we make our 2 chain for the beginning of the next row, and we do not work in this stitch, we work in the next stitch, because the chain 2 always counts as a stitch. So we don't work here, we work in the next one, and we work either front post or back post. We don't work in the top of the stitches except for the chain 2 at the end of every row. We just make a double crochet in the last chain, but I'll tell you when we get to the end of the row. So I've made my chain 2 for the next row. I'm going to skip this stitch and I'm going to work with this stitch. We are going to do 4 front post double crochets and then 4 back post double crochets, and we're going to repeat that till the end. So first a front post double crochet. I have made a tutorial on how to do a front post double crochet in case you have doubts. That's 3, 4th front post. Just give myself some wool slack. Okay, back post double crochet for the next 4 stitches, so we come from the back. And we're going to repeat this another 3 times for the next 3 stitches. I've also done a tutorial on back post double crochet in case you get stuck. That's 3. That's the 4th one. Oops, got stuck. Okay, the work should look like that. Now repeat the next 4 stitches in front post and then back post for the next 4. So it's another 4 front. For back post double crochet. This stitch is basically just a repeat. Once you've done the foundation row, which is just a plain double crochet, then you repeat row 2 for a total of 4 repeats. And I'm at the end of my 4 back posts. I'm at the end of my row. So in the second chain from the hook, second chain that we made at the bottom, to give it a step up, we are going to double crochet in the top chain. Sorry, I did mine a bit tight there. It gives it a neat finish. If you look on my other piece, it gives it a straight finish edge. Otherwise it will kind of come out and come out again and not even. Okay, row 2 completed. We're going to repeat row 2 for another 3 rows. If you lose count, how you count how many rows you've done, row 2 I repeated 4 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you can just count the back post ridges. Or the side, doesn't matter. It's a 3D stitch, this. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. I repeated row 2 4 times. Sorry, 2 chain. Front post double crochet for 4 stitches. I'm going to go a little bit faster now. And when I finished with the repeat of row 2, after 3 more repeats, I will show you row 5. Sorry, my wool's getting tangled. I tend to chain very tightly for some reason. Even if I use thinner wool for the hook, I tend to. Sorry, it's very tangled. Okay, that is row 2 repeated twice. I've got the 2 ridges. I'm doing row 2 a third time. After a while, I find the back post double crochet a little bit tricky because you hook by mistake on the stitch next to it when you pull it out like that. But after a while with this stitch, it tends to just fall like that. Tends to just automatically pop to the back and pop to the front, if you can imagine. Alright, I've done 3 rows. Which is a repeat of row 2. 1, 2, 3, one more row, and then we do where these stitches are lying this way, but now they stand upright. Just remember, you don't work around the first stitch, which is the chain 2. It gives it a neat finish if you don't work around those ones. I'm nearly finished with the 4 repeats of row 2, and then we're going to do row 5, which we repeat for 4 rows as well, and we're always doing repeats of row 2 and row 5 for 4 rows each, which will give you the even pattern. Okay, for the next row, which is row 5, I'm going to swap over to the sample I've made so that I don't have to redo all 5 rows. I'm just going to be doing 1 row of row 5 to show you what it looks like, how it works, and then you are to repeat row 5 an additional 3 times to get this pattern. So I've only done this row, row 5 3 times, 1 2 3. For row 5 we work opposite to row 2 through to row 4. With row 2 we started with 4 front post double crochets, then we did 4 back and 4 front and 4 back. With row 5 through to row 9 we start with the back post double crochets first. So chain 2, and we are starting with 4 back post double crochets, missing, sorry I'm out of focus there, missing the first 2 turning chains. We don't work in those ones. So we do 4 rows of where we start with 4 back post double crochets, and we do 4 rows where we start off with 4 front post double crochets, our 4 back post double crochets, now our 4 front post double crochets. And row 5 you need to repeat that row a total of 4 times, and you're always going to be working in a pattern of 4 repeats of row 2 and 4 repeats of row 5, and you keep repeating that pattern until you have the desired length. And this stitch is perfect for blankets. I'm even thinking if I was to use that super chunky wool, I could make myself a bedside mat with this, because it's a nice feeling textured stitch, 3D textured stitch. No matter which way you turn it, you'll get the same look on either side. If you need help on how to do the front post double crochet and back post double crochet, I have made 2 separate tutorials on how to do those stitches. And if you need assistance on double crochet, I have a tutorial made for that as well. Okay, one more front post, and don't forget to double crochet in the second chain of your turning chain to give it that neat closed finish. Okay, so row 1 is just plain double crochet. Row 2 is 4 front, 4 back, 4 front, 4 back, and you repeat that for the length of your piece. Repeat row 2 till you have a total of 4 repeats. Row 5 you start off with 4 back post double crochets, 4 front, 4 back, 4 front, and repeat row 5 repeat row 5 until you have 4 repeats. When you're finished with your row 2 repeats, row 5 repeats, you do row 2 repeats again for another 4 rows to keep this pattern going. Let me know how you found this tutorial, and let me see what you've made with this stitch, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to be updated. Goodbye.